What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. We're going to continue with Grudge Match Volume 15. Now, this fight here was something else. This is the welterweight championship match that took place in Chicago, Illinois. It was March 14th, 1956, between welterweight championship of the world title holder Johnny Saxton and a welterweight contender of the world, Carmen Basilio. Now, Basilio didn't like the fact that Johnny Saxton would hold the world championship of the world because he had a manager by the name of Frankie Blinky Palermo. Now, Frankie Palermo was one of the biggest mobsters in the boxing game. And they called him Mr. Gray. And normally when he approaches you, you follow orders. Because he didn't play around with you, your family, your kids, no matter who you knew. He would make sure his money was well protected. But in this case, Carmen Basilio didn't want to take orders from anyone. And he didn't like the fact that Johnny Saxton was the world welterweight champion of the world. Because he lost to Kid Gavilan himself when he tried to go for the championship the first time. Carmen Basilio. And then Johnny Saxton would take the welterweight championship of the world away from Kid Gavilan. That fight would take place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on October 20th, 1954. And Carmen Basilio felt as though Johnny Saxton was not worthy of the championship. Now, I'm going to go through this fight with you, but I want to do it right here on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Now, Carmen Basilio was born April 2nd, 1927. He died November 7th, 2012. He stood 5 foot 6.5 inches and weighed 145 to 157 pounds. He had 79 total bouts with 27 knockouts. Johnny Saxton was born July 4th, 1930, Newark, New Jersey. He died October 4th, 2008. He stood 5 foot 8.5 inches and weighed 142 to 153 pounds. He was managed by Frankie Blinky Palermo. He would suffer from his first loss after his 41st bout. Johnny Saxton would win his dream belt, the welterweight championship of the world, against Kid Gavilan, October 20th, 1954, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Johnny Saxton would defeat Virgil Akins, Carmen Basilio, Joe Maselli, Gil Turner, Joey Giardello, Johnny Braxton, Freddie Dawson, Ralph Tiger Jones, Tony Pallone, Charlie Williams, Ramos Fuentes, outstanding fighters, Danny Bang Bang Williams. He would be inducted into the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame in 1998. Now, Carmen Basilio had it in for Johnny Saxton because he didn't like being told what to do. And Johnny Saxton surrounded himself with the mob. And Carmen Basilio felt as though he would be robbed if he didn't go along with the request of laying down in the title match with Johnny Saxton. So they would have their first fight March 14th, 1956 at Chicago Stadium. And what a fight that was. Carmen Basilio would lose his first fight with Johnny Saxton. Johnny Saxton would knock out Gil Turner. Now, Gil Turner was from Philadelphia. Fantastic welterweight. He turned middleweight. And I did a profile on Gil Turner. He's a dynamite fighter. Just type in Gil Turner, Scrapbook Boxing, and you'll see what I mean about Gil Turner. But he fought Gil Turner May 16th, and he knocked him out. It was a fantastic fight. And Carmen Basilia was at ringside. And he didn't like the results. And he didn't like Johnny Saxton. So they would fight again. February 22nd, 1957. And this time Carmen Basilia would knock out Johnny Saxton. This fight took place in Cleveland, Ohio. And he would finally get his championship belt. Now, Johnny Saxton would take a little bit of a beating from Tony DeMarco. And that would give Carmen Basilia an opportunity to fight for that belt against Tony DeMarco. And I did a profile on that fight. That was one of the greatest fights of welterweight history. Carmen Basilia and Tony DeMarco. And it just seemed like Johnny Saxton was always around. And Johnny Saxton would face Carmen Basilia. He would regain the title from Basilia, and Basilia would regain the title from Johnny Saxton. And the wars these men had was unbelievable. Carmen Basilia was a machine. Now here you have Carmen Basilia receiving the ring belt. This was the Police Gazette welterweight belt. He received it from his managers, Joe Nitro and Johnny DeJohn. You have Johnny DeJohn here, who's a very good fighter himself. Joe Nitro. Carmen Basilia wouldn't even look at Johnny Saxton on the scales. He despised him. He didn't like Johnny Saxton worth a damn. He couldn't wait to get him in the ring. And this would be the result. Johnny Saxton would be laying flat on his back. Carmen Basilia got what he wanted. He got revenge over who he called a paper champion. Johnny Saxton was a very good fighter. He was from Newark, New Jersey. He was just caught up in the mob, but he could fight. And once again, Carmen Basilia, who was a dynamic fighter, one of the great welterweights of all times, didn't like Johnny Saxton because of who Johnny Saxton was and what he represented. He was an African American fighter trying to become a champion. Johnny Saxton, stretched out. Basilia walks away and becomes, once again, welterweight champion of the world. Now here, on your far right, you can see Angelo Dundee, who was Carmen Basilia's trainer. Now Basilio would go on and face Artie Aragon, and he would defend his title. As you can see here, Ed Aragon was the golden boy of the West Coast. And Carmen Basilio would eventually relinquish his title and he would go up and chase Sugar Ray Robinson for the middleweight championship of the world. And then Vince Martinez and Virgil Akins would start a tournament that would eventually go to Don Jordan and become the welterweight champion of the world. But Carmen Basilio would always be known as the man who was cheated and robbed. This is Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Salute to my subscribers. Salute to Carmen Basilio and Johnny Saxton. One of the great welterweight battles of all time. February 22nd, 1957. The night Carmen Basilio will be revenge against Johnny Saxton. Salute.